So if you thought that the response for coronavirus was bad enough in the United States, you are not going to believe what the United Kingdom government has been trying to do, which is beyond an abomination. I kid you not, I'm not joking. The official government position until yesterday was let everybody get infected with coronavirus. Yeah, a few people will die, but we'll have herd immunity. I mean, this really puts into context how bad the Tories are. It's like they want austerity so much. They want to screw over people so much that they're like, yeah, just let a few people die. It doesn't matter. This is the UK chief scientific advisor telling you that herd immunity, that letting people catch coronavirus, is the best way to prevent coronavirus.
I mean, that herd immunity, I know you talked about yesterday when you were appearing with the Prime Minister. In terms of building up a herd immunity within the UK, what sort of percentage of people need to have contracted the virus?
Probably about 60% or so. And we think that this virus is likely to be one that comes back year on year, become like a seasonal virus, and communities will become immune to it. And that's going to be an important part of controlling this longer term.
60%?
60% is the sort of figure you need to get herd immunity.
I mean, even with that, even looking at the sort of the best case scenario, I know we were talking last week and you were saying, you know, half of 1% to 1% fatality in something like this. That's an awful lot of people dying in this country.
Well, I mean, of course, we do face the prospect of, as the Prime Minister said yesterday, of an increasing number of people dying. That is a real prospect. This is a nasty disease.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. The chief scientific advisor to the UK government. This guy should technically be smarter than every single scientist in the UK combined, right? On paper. And you just heard him tell you that the best strategy to defeat coronavirus is let everybody contract coronavirus. And when he was asked, you're saying a lot of people are going to die, that's awfully a lot of people, isn't it? And he's like, yes, well, you know, according to our estimates, a lot of people are going to die anyway, boy. So what difference does it make? Yeah, they don't care. They don't care because they would rather keep the economy going. They would rather make sure that the underfunded NHS, who underfunded it? Oh yeah, you guessed it, the Tories. They would rather have that than actually take measures to protect the health and the safety of the public. This was the official UK position right until last night. Don't worry, it gets worse. It gets worse because if you think that the UK government suddenly had an epiphany, no, unfortunately, it's still bad. So Boris Johnson finally comes out today to give a speech and announce, you guessed it, drum roll. Who did he give the bailouts to? Who did he give all the money to? The elites. Yes, it's not 1.5 trillion like in the US, but he did make sure that 330 billion was ready. 330 billion pounds, so that's a bit more in dollars. Only available to businesses. Oh, and they said if you need more, we'll be there. So the businesses, they get 330 billion pounds, but if you can't work, if you're from the peasants and the common folk, oh boy, you get nothing. You get nothing. If you're a worker, no benefits, no compensation. No. It's just for the businesses. Do you see the pattern here? How in every capitalist society, the first people they run to, the first people they look after are the elites. Always. Oh, you need bailouts? No. The elites get it first. Oh, there's a pandemic? We got to take care of the elites. Stock market comes first, boy. The city of London comes first, boy. For those of you who don't know, the city of London is basically the Wall Street of UK. It's a very tiny part of London. They have their own police force. Yeah. The bankers in the UK are so pompous, boy, that we have our own police force, which is separate from the regular Met in London. Yeah, that's actually crazy, right? They have their own police force. Could you imagine if the banks at Wall Street, could you imagine if Wall Street had its own police force separate from the NYPD? That's exactly the thing here. Yeah. Let that sink in for a second. Of course, they get the bailouts. They get the money. We take care of the businesses first. And well, if you're a worker, too bad. You come later. We'll think about it. Yes, I'm going to get to Trump. I know that Trump has been speaking about UBI. We'll get to, yes, I just said that sentence. It's real. I'll get to that in a second. But I just want to cover this in the UK first. So look at this, because The problem here is not just the bailouts for the rich, the pattern that you see in these capitalist societies of always taking care of the donors, always taking care of the corporations. It's also the response to public safety. So look at this. Prime Minister Boris Johnson performed a dramatic U-turn on Monday and put the UK on lockdown to curb the spread of the coronavirus pandemic, dropping his controversial herd immunity approach and following the lead of continental Europe. Okay, so that sounds very fine and dandy until you find out that actually that's not true. So Johnson told all Britons to work from home, avoid public gatherings, and avoid all non-essential travel. However, he again declined to close schools, even though a large number of parents have already started to voluntarily keep their children at home. And look at this. He describes these measures as very draconian, boy. Very draconian. Johnson warned that people should avoid pubs, clubs, theaters, and other social venues. Do you see the issue here? Nothing's being done. The only reason they're dropping this herd immunity approach is because it's making them look bad when every other country is doing the complete opposite. Nothing has changed. They're not closing schools. They're not closing down clubs. They're not closing down restaurants. They're not closing down cinemas. They're not banning public gatherings. Nothing. Nothing. This is no different from last week. Nothing. The only difference is they bailed out the fucking rich. That's it. 330 billion pounds of business loans available. As Prime Minister says, school closures under continuous review. Wonderful, right? If this isn't criminal negligence, I don't know what is. The NHS is already under strain. Before coronavirus, before this outbreak, they were already at 94% bed capacity. They already had a shortage of 40,000 nurses. Because, after 10 years of austerity from the Tories, that tends to happen. Oh, and to boot, I think some of you, if you were tuning into the live stream last time, you already know that the corporations, corporate Britain, is already making money off of this crisis. Of course. You think corporations care if you're sick? They don't give a crap. 8,000 private hospital beds to be rented to NHS for £2.4 million per day. £2.4 million a day. They don't care. The NHS is running out of beds, literally. Before this pandemic even happened, they're at 94 bed capacity. And what do these corporations do when they see a crisis? Like, okay, we'll rent you some beds for £2.4 million a day. Fucking beds. This is what happens when you outsource the little bits and pieces of your public services, of your public utilities. They will screw you in the middle of a pandemic. The NHS is the crown jewel of the UK. This is their most prized possession. Labour created it, not the Tories, by the way, which Jeremy Corbyn reminded us during this last election cycle in December. This is the crown jewel of the UK. And what have the Tories been doing? We'll outsource a little bit of this. We'll outsource a little bit of that. No, don't worry about it. Don't worry. It's still ours. But we'll have 0-hour contracts to screw over workers. And we'll give a little bit of the piece of the pie to the corporate sector. So our friends can make a little bit of bob. They are effectively committing highway robbery against the people, against people's safety, their health. This is what it is. It's highway robbery. £2.4 million a day. Great. Spain, they completely nationalized all hospitals. Say, look, we're in a global pandemic. This is ours now because we need to focus. We need to make sure that people get care, that we have safety in place, that we have our doctors and nurses in place. Everything is working in tandem and not motivated by profit, but rather by public safety, by concern for the public good. Yeah, they just nationalized everything. The entire healthcare sector. That is what you should be doing in a global pandemic. Never, ever, ever give away public utilities like this to corporations because they will screw you. They will screw you in a time of need. Not to mention that they're screwing you the entire time regardless. Their only motive, their only incentive is to make money. They don't care about actually making you healthy. They care about the money. To give them access, to give them a piece of the pie in such a delicate matter is lunacy. It's criminal, regardless of a pandemic or not. So honestly, this approach by the UK is a joke. It's really dangerous. It's criminally dangerous and so typical of a right-wing government. They just don't care. They really don't care. They're not banning travel, closing down schools. They're not banning public gatherings, nothing. No. They just they changed their public position from herd immunity to herd immunity. That's it. And gave a bunch of money to the rich. Wonderful. Good shit, boy. Smashing. Good news. And I mean, this is worse than some of the response in the US, because if you look at places like San Francisco, what has San Francisco just done? They've initiated a lockdown. San Francisco is taking this more seriously than the UK government. One city is taking this more seriously than the UK government. This is ridiculous. This is irresponsible. I'm speechless sometimes. I really am. Well done, oh boy. We're going to find out the toll of this very soon.